But there was also a couple of, I guess, key inputs that really set me on this path. One of them was I grew up watching The Good Life, the British sitcom about the couple that want to try and become sustainable and off grid within central London.
G'day everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Changemakers. Today we are going to be talking with Annette Mayne from the Reconnect group. And for anybody that took the time to read the little, I guess, write-up, I'm really excited about what these guys are doing. I think it's probably something that some people underestimate the significance of, but for anybody who doesn't know the Reconnect group, they essentially provide mobiles and tablets to people in need, whether that's homeless people, refugees, or other people that just can't afford to have a tablet or a phone. And I think the youth would certainly understand, but even probably older people would get it, that nowadays we've become so reliant on our devices. That's probably, I guess, not always a good thing, but it is the state of play. And if you don't have something that can help you to navigate your way around and to be in contact with people, to make emergency calls, find your way to a job interview, etc., it really is quite debilitating. And I'm sure we'll get into more of the details of that with Annette. But yeah, look, I just it excited me when I read about what they were doing, because the people who know what my broader mission is with Flicks for Good, in terms of providing world-class entertainment and education to the world for free, is that someone who is in an underprivileged situation, or they might be in another country, they could get their hands on a phone and they could get access to the internet, and then they could learn and they could get upskilled and they could have an opportunity to figure out ways to change their circumstances. So, I mean, I'm constantly on my phone listening to podcasts, audio books, watching things on YouTube, things like this, connecting with communities around the world. So it's it's become really, really important. Well, that's enough of me yammering on there. Let's get Annette in and we can actually hear the story from her. Hi, Annette.
Hey, Brad.
How are you?
I'm pretty good today, actually. Yeah. How are you?
And I've just realised I didn't have my headphones in myself after saying, hey, look, make sure
Is
you
that
have
better?
headphones. That's definitely better. Yes, I believe everybody else would be able to hear you fine, so that's okay. I can see
Awesome.
that we've got someone with us live. Oh, g'day, Blake. Chef Blake. Good afternoon. He's saying, oh yeah, I think that he maybe is having a little jab at the fact I was a fraction late. Hey, look, hey, 12 p.m. is one of those funny times of the day. Yeah. So, but thanks for joining us, Blake. Appreciate you being here. So, Annette, for people who, I guess, don't know you and don't know the Reconnect group, can you please give us a bit of a rundown on who you are and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, sure. I've been working in waste and recycling programs for the last 17 years, on a range of different initiatives. I've worked with councils and small businesses and charities, all finding ways to reuse, reduce, and ultimately recycle, any way to avoid things from going to landfill. My background is actually in PR and communications and community education. So I don't actually have the technical skills for things like mobile phone repairs, but I'm aware of the processes and how that all comes about. I think for me that my passion is about my passion is waste. I can talk garbage all day if you really wanted me to. It's I just can't handle the idea of things being wasted, and landfill to me is a really dirty word. So I find ways in which we can make a change with that. And e-waste in particular, electronic waste, is the fastest growing contributor to landfill in Australia. And that's just an astonishing figure. But that's the rise of how much electronic equipment and gadgets and things that we have, and the speed at which we're turning over them and buying a new one when a new model comes out or something's updated. Yeah. So that's what has led me down the path of the Reconnect Project. I was doing some work with an organisation that imports the spare parts for mobile phone repair, and I was helping develop some training programs to actually teach people how to repair mobile phones and tablets. And for that to work, I needed a supply of essentially broken phones and tablets that through the repair course people would learn how to fix. And then I thought, well, at the end, I've got these fixed phones and devices. So why don't I find a way of actually getting them into the hands of people that don't need getting them out of the hands of people that don't need them and into the hands of people that do need them? Hence the Reconnect Project was born. And
what sort of year was this? Sorry to jump in, but what kind of year were you at?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. We're only just celebrating our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So I launched in September last year with support from City of Parramatta Council here in Sydney.
Right.
At a Pitch for Good event in Parramatta, which then led into a crowdfunding campaign, which got the first hit of money, about $5,500, and that then went to getting the first 50 phones and devices repaired, because on average for the whole process it costs us around $100 to bring a device back to life, essentially. So that's essentially how it all came about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So so you've been on this sort of journey, I guess, or war against waste for a while now, or it sounds like probably throughout the course of your life. I mean, at what point did you, I guess, start to really think about that side of things? Is it something that you cared about, as a child, or is there something more that's was there a catalyst moment, I guess, that made you really start thinking more deeply about, the state of play with waste and what's going on in the world?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in a family of fixers and menders. My father is a carpenter and a builder. My mother's a primary school teacher and a dressmaker. And so I grew up in an environment where everything was repaired or made from scratch. My grandfather was also always on his shed, and so my father's garage is like that archetypical old man's shed, full of bits and pieces and screws and bolts and all kinds of equipment and things. And when I was a teenager, he taught me how to restore furniture. In the school holidays, I used to do little bits of work for him, painting timber frames on windows for jobs he was working on. And when I was about 14, he taught me how to restore a beautiful set of cedar Australian timber drawers, a tall boy that had been kicked around from farm to farm, and the drawers had been nailed in every time they moved. And that first stroke of the oil going on to the timber, once we'd stripped back all the paint and 60 years of grime and whatever, and the colour came out of this timber, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
So for me, it was very much the environment in which I grew up. But there was also a couple of I guess key inputs that really set me on this path. One of them was I grew up watching The Good Life, the British sitcom about the couple that want to try and become sustainable and off-grid within central London. And I think that had quite a lasting impact on me. But also when I finished my communications degree, and I was working for a multinational beauty company, actually. And essentially it was my job to promote expensive soap and body lotion and toiletry products. And I just got to a point where I had a crisis of conscience, where I just couldn't do it anymore. One day I was looking at this box of fancy soap, and I thought, This piece of soap is wrapped in special waxed paper. It's in its own little cardboard box. Then it's packed into a set of 3 as a gift pack, and then 6 of those are packed into a cardboard box, and then another 6 of those are packed into a bigger box, and that's how they're getting shipped out to the stores and things. I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it. So I was living in London at the time.
It's funny you say that, because I think that when I first went to the UK and my sister was living over there, this was maybe 10 years ago, I don't know, forgive me, Narelle, if you're watching this, I've probably got your whole how long you've been married completely wrong, but it was quite some time ago, let's just say that. And I just remember going and buying like something maybe equivalent to Tim Tams, like just I think it was a packet of some sort of biscuits or something. And it was like you said, there was like a cardboard box, and then inside the cardboard box there was kind of like a plasticky layer like what we have. And then inside that, all the individual biscuits were all wrapped in their own little plastic layer. So I was just like, oh my goodness, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so I just had this crisis of conscience, and I thought, I can't keep flogging expensive soap to people that don't really need it, that's over-packaged to the extent that there's so much waste in it.
Yeah.
And so I convinced a small environmental charity in London to take me on, and essentially took 4 steps backwards in my career and pay grades to start working on a recycling program within London. And the first thing they asked me to do was work with supermarkets on on-shelf signage to try and encourage people to buy items that were in recyclable packaging, because at that point in time, London didn't really have curbside recycling systems like we do in Australia. And from that, I'd found my tribe. I'd found my people. I was where I wanted to be, and I just took off from there. So back in that was 2002 to 2005, and then back here in Australia, I continued working on some recycling programs, and have worked with a social enterprise and charity in Sydney called the Bower Reuse and Repair Centre, which is a fabulous initiative that stops things from going to landfill.
Yeah.
And within that, I started to see the rise in electronic waste, and was given this opportunity to work on mobile phone repairs, and here it all is.
Yeah.